We'll go ahead and open up Auto Data POS.
All right.
All right, so just going to kind of go over the basics. Some of this you're probably already aware of, kind of what we went over when I first did the import and such. But when you first enter in the system, you'll always use your username and password. You do have the ability to create usernames for each individual employee, and then also set their permissions, and you can set up like user-specific permissions and such, and we'll go over here that in a minute. But
All right.
we'll use I'm going to use my credentials real quick just to get us logged in and such for the time being. So once you're logged in and such, let's go ahead and go to the store setup real quick and just kind of go over the employees. And this will help with not having to use the store owner employee. So if you ever need to add, when you guys go to add employees and such, you can just select add, and then you'll need to enter the first name and last name for that employee. Once that's set, you'll be able to set that username and password that they can use to enter in to log in each morning. So let's just go ahead and create Vernon while we're in there real quick. So I'm going to have you
All
fill
right.
out the first name and last name real quick.
Oh, all right.
And then go ahead and go to set username and password. And then I'm going to have you set a unique username to you and then also set your own password. And this is
All
what you'll
right.
use every time that you log into the system.
All right. Let me see. What normally does people use for a username on there? Do they?
Usually they'll use their first and last name, maybe with a period in between it, or they'll use their first name and then, create the password, unique to them. It's not really
All right.
limited on what the username can be. Um,
Yeah, I'm just going to put my first name.
and that's completely fine. A lot of people, they either just do the first and last name or just the first name or, their initials, whichever. Then the password, like I said, I'll let you create that unique to you.
All right.
And the goal would be obviously to keep this password from other users, in the meantime. Um,
All right.
and then once you're done, you can hit save. So you have all that information. Now you can fill out the information below. If you just need it for, purposes of contacting the employee, anything like that. You can also add the availability of an employee. So, which days he's works, which days, he's unavailable, which times he's available during the days that, that person can work. It's not necessary for you to, enter in the employee, clock in and such. It's just there for, pretty much management use. At the very
All
bottom,
right.
you'll notice that it has set employee permissions. When you go to set that option, you're going to see all the different types of permissions that you have within the point of sale. And they're pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like what we had in the older software, but this is what we have for this platform. And you can select the whole category by just checking that box, and then you can, check off which ones you do not want. So for your purposes,
All right.
since you're a manager, I'm just going to go ahead and just give you pretty much all permission in the meantime,
All right.
just so that you have it. And when we go to log in, you can do everything with your username. And you'll be able to create employees as you guys start getting more used to this system. This one won't be necessary since you guys aren't using QuickBook links with us for this time. So,
All right.
so go ahead and hit save. So you'll notice your employee name is now in the system. You can use your credentials in order to log in. So I'm going to have you go ahead and I'm going to log out of mine and have you put in yours now.
All right.
So now we're logged in. What's recommended as you guys first get into the store, you open up the software and everything, is to go to the time clock. What you would like to do is clock in your employees before you guys get started for the day. Um,
Hmm.
what you'll want to do is go to cash store management first. open the business date. So if you can go ahead and we'll move over to the cash store management tab. And you'll notice here that you have open business date. It does not have a little border around it, meaning that this is the only option that you have at this point. So when you go to open
All
business
right.
date, it's basically going to go out, check for a time status of when you guys are going to be opening, and then it's just going to tell you whether you're open or not. You do have the option to put in a note for the day. Also add, the opening weather, whether it's a sunny day, a rainy day, kind of just gives you an idea of what's happening, at your, in your area, so that, if it's a busier day, it might be a sunny day, it might be, a rainy day, it might not be as busy, just for counting purposes and such. So we'll just say it's a sunny day, hopefully. We'll hit save. So you're now open for business. My recommendations after you open for business is to go ahead and clock in your employees for the time being, or clock in, who's actually opening the day. So we'll go ahead and select your name. And you'll notice that when you select or highlight your name, you're going to see here is that it'll say select an employee, Vernon Oler. I think I said that correct, right?
Yep. Yep, that's right.
Perfect. And basically, you'll just select the clock in, kind of like you'll have a border around it, just like the opening date. It's the only option that you have. It'll tell you which time you're planning to clock in. You can put in a note. Say they come in late, and they haven't had a chance to clock in, or they forgot to clock in. You can just say, really was here at this time, or, was running late this morning, whichever you prefer there. And then once you're done, you can
All
just
right.
hit save. And then you'll notice that you're considered clocked in for this date right here. And it'll tell you whether you're clocked out or not. You have the option to clock in and clock out as many times as you need. Um, if you ever need to edit punches, you can always go back in, select the employee, and then say, okay, this is the time he really clocked in, this is the time he really clocked out. And then you can just say create new punches. Um, say the record's not good. When you guys clocked in, you have the option below to say void time clock record, meaning that it just wipes out whatever was there to begin with, and then you can go ahead and correct that. Um, in the comments, you're able to add, a note just saying, I'm correcting this time because they came back in, because it got busy, or, whatever you need there for that purpose. So once you are done though with that edit of the time clock, you would just hit save. And then basically what it'll do is, like, you sure you want to make this change to the time clock, you can just say yes, and it'll say that shows you have a clock out time now, but we'll just go ahead and just say void the time clock record, and then we'll go ahead and clock you back in, since we're really not wanting to clock you out at the moment. Let's see here, just froze for a second. I think maybe I should have done the clock out from there and then went back in. So I'll go ahead and have you log back in real quick. And then we'll go back to the time clock real quick and then have you clock back in.
And
And
that's it, right? It's
that
clocked in?
Yep, you're correct. It shows you where you are right now. It says time in at this time, and the timeout's not there. Like I said, I avoided that one that we did because it did save a clock out time, and so that's not really the
All right.
case. I was just kind of showing you how you can do the edit punches. Um, at the bottom, you have the employee report. That's just basically the time clock report. Same thing with the payroll report when you guys are ready, to do payroll for, if you guys do it weekly, bi-weekly, however you guys do it, you'd be able to select it from there and such. You do have
You'll
your
still bring up the calendar and stuff, and you punch in the days you want.
Yep. So when you go into payroll report, you would just go at the very top, the start date and then the end date. And then you can
Oh,
also
cool.
show voided and such. And then it would tell you when your time in and time outs are. So,
That's cool. Because right now, I think we just highlight the days on the calendar.
yep. So you can do it as
Yeah.
multiple days. You can select, whichever days you want. It's not going to be like, the old one where you have to select each individual date that you want. Um, but you do have that option there. So once you're finished with clocking in and such, you go back to the cash store management. I always just recommend going into open business day first. Go ahead and get that out of the way. then get everybody clocked in. You can do it either way. It's not going to hurt anything. Once you do that, you want to start your cash store shift. So opening business day doesn't start the actual cash store. Kind of just FYI there. What you'll want to do in the start cash store shift is basically go in and enter in the amount that you're pulling from your safe and putting in your cash drawer for the day. So if you guys typically start off with a certain value, you can either set it to default to go to that value, or you can hand count,
All right.
whichever you prefer to put in. So for right now, we'll just do
Yeah, we
100.
start off at 210. All
Gotcha.
right.
So we can just say we'll do 210 since that's what you were just saying that you guys start off with. So we'll say $210 is what you're starting off with, then we'll hit save. Let's say, are you sure you would like to start a new cash drawer shift? $200 will be moved from the safe to this drawer. You can just say yes. And now you're pretty much open for business at this point. Um, at this point, you would be able to, it's just kind of like if you're open with our system. You can have multiple cash drawer shifts throughout the day. If you were to open and close for the business day, you would still be able to open up again, but it would fall under its own separate day. It's not going to like combine the sales together, if that makes sense. Um,
All right.
So like say I went to the start cash drawer shift and I went to the end cash drawer shift, I closed that cash drawer shift, and then I go and close business date. Doesn't mean I'm locked out of the system. I still have the opportunity to go back and open business day again for the same date, but it's going to be considered a different record, like a sales date record. But it'll still be, for
So
say,
like if you have like 15 cars in there already and you hit that end
yep,
cash, those 15 cars are going to go with that cash, and then it's going to start a new 15 or a new certain amount of cars.
yep, you'd start a new cash drawer shift.
All right.
Under the same business date. Now, if you close business day, so if you end your cash drawer shift here, and then say you close business day for some reason, and you're still midday, you're still able to go back in and open business day. It's not going to prevent you from doing that, but it will create a new record, meaning that for June 5th I had this many cars, and this amount of sales. Then I closed out, and then I started a new business day under the same date, but it's these cars instead. Does that make sense now?
All right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's what
so
you're saying.
on the cash drawer shift, basically, my recommendation is always leave business day open until you guys are officially ready to close. And then, if you're starting a new shift, and you want a new, person accountable for that cash drawer shift, go ahead and end the cash drawer shift and then, start your new one afterwards. And we'll get to that here in just a moment, how ending the cash drawer shift works. It's basically just counting down the drawer like you would at any, end of business day, but you can do it for end of cash drawer shifts. So say you have like a morning shift, you have a cash drawer shift in, and then you have a, an evening shift, and you want an evening cash drawer shift. You can close it out
All
during the
right.
day, hold, accountability for that first shift. And then the second shift, you can hold accountability separated from each other. All the business sales will combine to each other at the end of the day, as long as they're still under open the same business day. Does that make sense now?
All right. Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, which we probably will. I mean, we'll leave it open the whole time because we only
Yeah.
run one shift here.
So once you're done there, you can go back into the point of sale. This is basically where you're going to do the bulk of the work. Um, with how you guys are set up now, you do have customer history, you do have vehicle history, um, so you can bring up vehicles that way. Um, so let's just go ahead and add a customer real quick. So you have the customer tab, you have the vehicle tab, you have the service tab. These are the ones that are going to always be there first when you first come in. You'll notice on your left-hand side, you'll have new service order, and this is where it will queue up all your service orders as you guys go along. Um, you do have another tab up at the top that says Quick Select, and this is where you can put in like your most used services, like services that you would just like to quick select onto a customer where you don't really have to go through the service list and say, okay, I need this service and this service. It's kind of like the services that you do often, and you do a high quantity of them. Um, Probably like your bulk oil changes, your conventionals and such. And I can kind of show you
All
how to
right.
set one of those buttons up when we're finished here. But so we're under a new service order right now. So we're going to go ahead and go to customer. And what we'll do is we'll look up by last name. So you'll see here we have several different ones based on the last name. And I see that we have two of Vernon right here. I'm going to go select the first one. So I have a 2011 Chevy Malibu.
Yeah, that's one of my old cars too.
Well, we'll just go with this for right now. and we'll just
Yeah,
select
not a
the
problem.
vehicle. We'll go with the vehicle option and then select that. And we'll just put in, 100,000 miles just for now, just to kind of give you an idea. It's always going to ask for the odometer amount before you guys go into there. You'll notice on the left-hand side, it gives you your vehicle's history summary, total invoices for, kind of gives you the last service performed, the service date, the odometer then. So you'll notice my odometer amount now does not match what was already there. Tells you,
Mm.
your months in between that time and such, and then the part and the lubricant that was used and how much. Gives you your vehicle configurations at the bottom. Is if it's been associated, it's not going to allow you to make that change down here. Um, it's just going to say basically, this is all I can do for that based on that VIN there. You do have the option to put in a license plate number for the vehicle. You guys do use Carfax with your current store, so you will be able to search by license plate if you prefer, other than using the customer's name. If you're just looking up a vehicle instead, and then you can put in a vehicle description. You do have the license plate state you can put in. You can opt them out of Carfax to say they don't want to do anything service activity sent to Carfax regarding, what was performed on their vehicle. You can always opt out of that, and that would just basically hold them from keeping any data sent to Carfax. You do have the option to select the oil change interval and the distance and the months and such. And then once you add all that information in, you can hit save. And then you'll notice at the top, this is where you're going to find your work order, your lube specs, your part specs, your oil light specs, your diagrams, PM report, Carfax report. The PM report, you won't see anything now. It's not a feature that we're running, and it doesn't look like you guys use it at this point anyways. Then also you have your history up here. And we'll just go into history real quick. And this will just kind of give you that same history that was already performed on the vehicle and which dates they were here last. And it'll tell you what their odometer readings were there. It'll probably match close to what Carfax is. And then you'll notice here it's the same kind of functionality, just kind of different wording and different placing than what it was on the old system. So you'll notice at the very left-hand side at the top, the work order. If you go to view work order here, you'll notice that this basically will show everything that's included about this vehicle. Um, It'll give you everything that we have regarding, based on the parts that you guys use, whether we have the part, if the part's not even there. So you'll notice Prime Guard doesn't have a part for this vehicle based on the database that it's using right now. Also with Performax, we have a Performax part, but we don't know if it's in stock. It's basically reads the same. It's just a little different format of how the work order displays based on what's there.
Mm.
You'll see that it has all the vehicle data regarding, the viscosities, the oil levels, and such, and everything there. If we have diagrams, we'll provide the diagrams, part specs, and you can all look up this, individually, or you can all find it on your work order. But once you're completed there, you can just exit out. Um, it'll be a lot quicker for you guys as you guys go along. But like I said, left-hand side, that little blue option gives you the customer information. The right-hand side gives you the vehicle information. You'll see it says customer vehicle at top. You'll notice on the left-hand side, this is where it shows as a service order, and then also where it's in use at. So it'll tell you which computer that it's being ran on. So like when you guys start going live and you have another computer running with it, it would tell you whether it's coming from the cash out station that the vehicle is being worked at, or on the base station. Um,
All right.
Say I need a new, say I'm done with this customer for now, I'm going over to add in a new person, because we have another person coming in. I would just select a new service order at the top, and then it would generate a new service order number for me. Basically, I could go in and say, okay, I want to put in, Mr. Smith who just walked in, and I could just say look up customer, and go find him throughout my list. We'll just say it's James Smith, and you'll notice it'll bring up James Smith on the left-hand side, the customer information,
Mm.
and then on the right-hand side, his vehicle information. Um, and you'll notice it creates the new service order on the left-hand side. So you can toggle between back and forth of those to say, okay, I got James Smith in. He's going to wait until, I'm finished with the Vernon's, vehicle. I would just go to the left-hand side and select that service order number. So it's not like having to scroll through that huge white list that you used to seeing.
Yeah.
And it gives you actually who you're.
Now mainly,
Go
now
ahead.
mainly ours are done with a tablet. Uh, so when he scans it in with the tablet out back, it's just going to pop up on the left-hand side like that.
Yeah, so once he scans it in from the tablet outside, what will happen is he'll enter in the vehicle information and such. It'll bring up, if that customer's ever been there or not, or, have him enter in the new, vehicle or customer that's coming in if they're a new customer. He'll do everything is pretty much the same on the tablet. And then when he goes to send it in, it will display it on the left-hand side as a new service order number. Um,
All right.
Basically, he'll be able to find, the recommended services from his work order of what was selected and such, um, of which services that you guys are going to perform for that vehicle, and they can kind of just go from there. So let's say we're going to finish your vehicle real quick, and just say we're going to perform a services. So you'll notice at the top you have some more options that have opened up for you: the discounts, the notes, and the payment option. So we'll just go to services first to add our services. And then you'll notice this little drop down menu pops up. This is kind of where we were talking about that business activity. It's not going to be necessary for you to select, but if you had different business activities running, you could select just the business activity so you only get the services under that business activity. Since you guys are only doing lube services, it's only, you can always just leave it as this for right now and just go to your service groups. Your service groups will be broken down based on what type of services they are. So say, I'm going to do a full service oil change. Basically all I'll have is full service oil changes in here, and that's it. Um, and say I want to do an air filter service, I can go to the air filter services from here and find it here instead of having to scroll through, a long list of different types of services.
So when you click on, like, let's say he did the air filter
Uh-huh.
and he did a full service,
Mm-hmm.
uh, would you click on the full service, and then would you have to go down below it and click everything?
Yeah, so
Like,
what,
go back to full service again.
yep, so we'll go to full services, and let's just say, what type of service would you typically perform on your Chevy Malibu that was coming in?
There's a Amsoil 530.
All right, so let's go to the 5W30 Amsoil located there, and I'll have you select it just to kind of get your hands on
All
it.
right. Yep.
And you'll notice it'll pop up here on the left-hand side. It'll tell you which part number it is
Mm-hmm.
based on what the work order displays, and then also if the part's not found. So we don't have a part for prime guard, so we're not going to tell whether there is one or not. We're just going to say it's not found. It'll tell you which last item used, and that's selected on the right-hand side. That was
All
based on
right.
history, and then you also have your part number here, whether it's in stock or not. I can't tell you that because I don't have a quantity in there yet. Um, but this is just for cashing out purposes. So you can either select on the left-hand side that part number and see if you do have it in inventory. So say item not found if it's not there.
Yep.
So you actually have the option below where it says select,
Mm-hmm.
and then this will give you all your different oil filters that we have based on our import. And the only ones that we have brought
All
over are
right.
the ones that you're actively being used. So you have that
All
5436.
right.
So you could always just
It'll be
select
that
it
one.
at the top. So let's just say I wanted to select it from here. It would always just select that one
Mm-hmm.
automatically.
Oh,
Once you do
all
that,
right. So you click it up there, then it.
yep, exactly.
All right.
Once you're done with that, you can just say done,
All right.
and then it's going to bring you to lubricants. It'll tell you your capacity on the left-hand side, so you don't always have to look. It's going to give you what your work order has already displayed to you, um, and it's going to give you your viscosities and such. It'll tell you the last one used was Amsoil 5W30, so go ahead and select that at the top. And then it's going to tell you your unit list price after 5 quarts, because we have it set right now to include up to 5 quarts. Anything after that, it would charge that $7.95 per quart.
Yeah. All right.
So go
So
ahead
do
and,
I put 5 quarts right there?
yep, so go ahead and just select 5, and you just say done. And then once you're done there, you'd have your checklist, and this is kind of like your fluids checklist that you guys fill out already. Um,
All right.
if it's just kind of like a drop down menu when you select them, you can say, this is what's been performed and everything. It'll print out on the invoice and everything there, but it's pretty much the same in regards to what you're used to doing there.
And just hit save.
Yep. So once you do that, you'll hit save, and then you can go to roles as well. And this is where you can select,
I select the text.
yep,
All right.
and it's only going to be able to do it for clocked in employees and such. So like, somebody's not clocked in, they're not going to be assigned to it. And I've put them set to required, so you have to fill out each one. Now, if you don't fill it out, it will not allow you to cash them out. That can be changed if if that's what you guys would like, but I do that just by default, just so that you're aware of how it's working. So once you're
Yeah, I
finished with,
like that. Just like,
yep, and then once you're finished there, you can just say go back. And then
all right,
once you're good with that, say you messed up with one of the items, or say someone entered in the wrong item or something, you can always go back in and re-enter items by selecting that, and then it'll say clear and re-enter service items. Go ahead and just say no. But if you said yes, it's basically going to bring you down to those same, little windows that pop up asking, what type of filter it's using, what type of lubricant it's using, and such. And then basically, you'll just have to refill it out. You can also remove the entire service by just, selecting the service from here. So go ahead and exit out of that window at the top right-hand corner. And then if you select that service right there at the bottom in that white, so not there, just right below it, yep. So go ahead and select that. You'll see it brings up that services option. If you select remove, basically what would happen is it would remove that service from the ticket, kind of like canceling a service on a ticket or removing a service or deleting one. That's basically the same
all right,
premise there. So you can go ahead and right click out of that. And then let's go back to services real quick and kind of show you. So now you would go back into services once you enter that one, and then you go back to the service groups. And then you could say, I
and
want
do
to
that
add
at
that
air
air filter.
filter.
Yep. And then do that way. And then you
All
can just
right,
select it from there. It'll tell you which one should be there. It doesn't show us one because we didn't have one in history for it. You have the part not found. That's the
all right,
prime guard part. And then you also have your, I believe that's a Performax part, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But if you go over to item,
so if I want,
and then you'll notice this is what
then I
we
just have
have
to
in stock.
manually put it in.
Yep. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have a part for that based on what, Prime Guard has given us. Once we do have it, we'll more than be happy to, update you guys with that. But for now, you're just going to have to select it from there. You do have the services request. That's where, the tablet would come into play, whether they ask for, a certain service and you send them in and they say, okay, they wanted this service and this service. That's where, you guys would be able to say, okay, that's the type of service they were requesting and such.
All right,
So at the top right hand corner, just go ahead and hit the X once you're completed. This one doesn't have a fluids checklist to fill out. We're only doing that for full service oil changes, but you can have certain checklists for certain types of services. So you can have multiple different types, and they can be, separate ones based on the service group type. So say you want an air filter, checklist to, have them check over, do they do this, do they do that, do they do this? You can have them fill that out, and that can be customized. But
all right,
so that just kind of gives you an idea there. Um, the next thing you will notice at the bottom, I just want to kind of give you on how all the pricing is worked out. So it'll show you your services, the total, and it'll show you your net labor based on, the cost of the labor and such of those services. I just matched your services based on what was already set up in your system at the shop. So they're just going to price out how they already price out, with the software that you guys are using currently. It'll display the taxes amount at the bottom, and you can actually bring those up, and it'll show you exactly what's the rate is. Same goes for discounts. So if you guys go over to discounts real quick, and you select one of your discounts, let's just say $3 off in oil change, you'll notice here that discounts fills up, and it'll tell you exactly which discounts being applied to it. You guys didn't have a surcharge from what I could see, so there will be no surcharge applied. If you guys do want one in the future, we can add that. But I'm just
all
trying to give
right,
you kind of a rundown how everything will look. And like I said, it's not necessary to go over these each time. You can just look at them. You don't have to like bring them up each time, because that will save time, with getting the cars out. You'll notice at the top, it shows you your service order number and it'll match what's on the left-hand side. So on that orange bar at the top, you'll see that it matches the service order of the first one at the top that's being in use. It'll time in, it'll tell you when that customer was entered into the system, and it'll tell you your time of, how long this vehicle has been moving. And it'll also count up by every 10 seconds. So it's been in there for 17 minutes and 37 seconds so far. and it'll just keep counting up as you go. So when you're ready to, say you need to fill in some notes on the vehicle, or if you want to put in some notes, what was performed or what you guys noticed, you would just go select notes at the top. And then here you can add like custom notes, or you can add like quick notes, kind of where you have like a little drop down list of different types of notes that are in place, say like leaking on arrival, or, you know, oil cap, was loose, or whichever, is a standard note for you guys. You can add those in as a custom note, and you can just select from those options. And then also you have the capability of just typing in a manual note, that's, a little more complex than just, the standard, issues that you guys see, your standard things that you like to report. So if you go to click customer notes, this will be added to the customer itself. Say I want to add a custom one, or I could say edit selectable notes. You'll see here I don't have any selectable notes at this time. I can add them at any point. That's where I was referring to, having certain notes. But this is just for the customer. Um, then you have vehicle notes. That's just for the vehicle itself. So like, if that customer decide to sell the vehicle to somebody else and they come back in, at least for that vehicle, you would have those notes of what's been performed and what you guys are aware of when they first came in. Then you have service order
All
notes.
right.
Service order notes is kind of just, for this specific ticket, what you guys completed, or, what you guys did to, correct something, or, help with something. Like I said, the edit selectable notes, you can add those in at any time, and remove them as you guys go. Say I don't really do this anymore in our shop, or we, started implementing this, this checkpoint, you can add that in there. When you add a custom note, basically it's just kind of like typing in. You'll just type whatever you want in there. You can select this private. That's where the customer will not see it on the invoice. If it's unchecked, that means it will display on the invoice to let the customer know that this was, something that was noted during the invoice, and in future reference too. Any questions on that part?
No, that seems pretty
Cool.
easy.
Perfect. And so once you're done with that, you can just go over to payment. And this is where it's just going to bring up a payment window. You can put the customer on hold to say they left their vehicle at the shop. You can just put them on hold, and then basically it'll just remain there until they come back in. Complete, it's just kind of the same thing, meaning that, they're ready to cash out. Estimate, this is where, if you need to print out an estimate, say they just want to get an idea of how much it would cost for a certain type of service, you could just provide that to them. And then, this, it remains in the system there. Like I said, when you're ready to, cash them out, you just select the payment type. Let's just say we're doing a Visa transaction for the time being. You'll notice that it brings up all there, all the amounts and such, and you just select cash out. But say like, it's cash instead. So, say they gave me, let's just go ahead and cancel that. We'll just cancel that. Nope. We're just going to exit out of here. We're going to go back to payment. You'll notice the service order total, it tells you here, but say I want to do cash. It'll give you different options. This one, all the other ones are going to be pretty straightforward. It's just going to say cash out because it doesn't assume that you're going to take out any amount higher than what the actual total is. But, this will give some options for, when they're counting out cash back to them or giving change. Basically, say if I did a $75 sale, it'll tell me, okay, apply payment, and it'll tell you what your change is due. And you would just say cash out. And I'll say this current doesn't have any invoice printers configured. Please go to terminal setup. So we don't have any printer set up right now. It's no big deal. It'll say, would you like to view this invoice on screen? You can just say yes. You'll notice here that it shows everything here that we performed, what we did for them, tells you how much change was given back and such, and just kind of gives you all the information that you need based on what we did originally. And once you're done with that, you can just exit out of there, and then it'll tell you your change due one more time so that that's not missed. And then once you press OK, customers removed. You'll see on the left-hand side they're no longer in that queued up area, and then you could go on to cash out James Smith. Say James Smith decided to leave. He didn't want to wait while we were doing this training or something. You could just say let's just go ahead and remove him from this service order, and then we'll just go to payment, and we're just going to say we're going to cancel him out. and then that just removes them altogether. And that's how you cancel a customer from the system. So like if you have a
All right.
customer in there, it's just going to tell you to remove it. If there is like a service on there, it might just ask you to remove it. Just go ahead and remove it from the service order by selecting that white, bar that has the service in there and remove it, and then go to payment and cancel them out, and you'll be able to remove them from the system. Um, Once you do that, you're good to go there. Any questions inside the point of sale so far?
No, no, it looks pretty simple so far.
Gotcha. And so that's all that's part of the point of sale portion. I do want to go to the store setup with you real quick, and then we're going to go to setup terminal, and then we're going to go to setup quick select buttons. And then you'll notice here that I have all my services here. I have my discounts and I have my payment types. So let's just say, what's one of your most popular services that you guys perform in the store?
The Amsoil 020.
Okay,
Right,
so let's just go over
full
here.
service.
So you can just double click that option, and you'll notice over here that it actually drops it in to this little bar over here, and you can move these to wherever you prefer to move them to. So I'm going to move it up to the top real quick. And then, say I want to do like a Visa transaction as my most, one of my most used payment types. You'll notice that it highlights green instead. That's because it's green like money. And then you have a discount as well. So say, we want that $3 off because that's something that we're promoting right now. You can hit save here and save here. And we'll go back to point of sale. And I just want to kind of show you that quick select option. So now under quick select, you'd have the 0W20 AMSOIL, the $3 off coupon, and the Visa payment type as options that you could just select quickly. You don't have to go to the service menu. So say I just want to, add this to a ticket, it's just going to bring me right to it and go to it and, just bang them out real quick.
That's sweet.
And so I'm going to remove that real quick. And so you have that option there. You don't have to necessarily,
So now
do it.
with the Visa on that page,
Hmm.
do you just click on the Visa from right there when you're ready to pay?
Yep. So you can just select them from here. It's going to look to the service order that you're under at the moment and say, okay, what's my service, what's my cost and such, and then it's just basically going to go to that cash out portion. Um,
All
I
right.
if you feel comfortable with the payment types being there, great. If you don't, just remove them, and you have up to a limited amount of slots that you have to use for that option for the quick select. So I kind of just
Yeah, I
always,
probably just put our full services in there and
yeah, like I said, you can always just decide what's the most efficient for that portion of the software, but you can always remove them as well. So I'll just remove Visa from there by just dragging it to there. It'll go up there. For some reason, it doesn't want it. There we go. And you just click in it and just hold on to the mouse and just drag them up there and such.
all right.
And then once you're done there, you can just hit save, and you'll notice that it's back to normal there. So that's basically inside the point of sale itself. Say you guys are ready to finish the business day. Let's just go ahead and do the cash order management or active. So we're going to end the cash order shift. So um, we would just go to end cash order shift. Before we start with that, let's go to void invoice. So this is where you would void invoices, and it would give you that option. It'll tell you the customer name there. Also, when you go to void, it's going to say who's logged in at that time. So you'll see at the bottom right hand corner, the current user is the burn-in. So it would show as you as the person that's voiding out the ticket. That's another security thing to know, exactly who's, removing tickets, who's voiding tickets, who's reprinting tickets and such.
All right.
So, like I said, it's super simple to void. You just highlight the ticket and select void selected invoice. We're not going to do that at the moment, but basically that's how it works. Is it's still only you can void the day of. You can't void, previous dates or anything like that. reprint invoice, very similar to void invoice, but you have the functionality to print out, selected invoices for a date range based on the invoice number. The more information you can put in for a customer, the more options you have to look up that customer's receipt. At the top, you have that date range where you can select, a multiple date range and, say I want to have the option between May 1st and, June 5th, what invoices did they have? And then you can see, what invoices that were currently done for, a customer, or you can do it by this invoice number, saying, I want to see what invoice number I have here, then add that in, and then say search, and then, it's only going to bring up the one that you have here. But as you do that, basically, you would just select here, which invoice. So I selected it. And you can just say yes, and you'll notice here it just brings up the invoice. You can print it out, or you can save it to the computer. You can email it to them as well. But that's currently how that works there. And then that's really it. Payouts. I don't have any payouts set up for you guys at the moment. But as you guys go along, you can add those in there. You just basically just put in the amount. You can view the receipt and such and see what, was done for that vehicle, or not vehicle, but what person, pulled money out of the drawer for what reason and such. Bottom right hand corner, you have your management reports. Basically your sales reports. You can go by date range, cash store shift report, date range as well, a deposit report, and an hourly performance report. They'll be very similar to what you guys are used to seeing, just in a different format. So let's just say we want to look at today's, and you'll notice here how it kind of just builds up the report. And these will be included in the close of business day for you, so you will get these reports in. So you will have the option to select like what type of services were performed, and it'll tell you exactly what service it was and the counts here. And as you go along here, and then it'll tell you which items were sold for each service as well, and you can maximize and minimize these. So if you are concerned about which actual part was sold with it, and the cost of that part, and everything with that, it'll tell you exactly what was sold with the vehicle, tell you what discounts were applied, the taxes that were applied to taxable sales, shows your opening weather and such. And that's pretty much it for that portion there. So we'll just close out of that real quick. Same goes for cash store shift report, and we'll show that as we do the close of business day here in a moment. But let's just go ahead and go to in cash store shift real quick.
All right.
And you'll notice that you have your one cash store shift that's open. You'll see what your drawer amount is. You'll see what's in safe, meaning that this is what was open, the opening amount that was pulled from the safe to this cash drawer. So $210 was our amount that we started with. You can add that in over here. It's not necessary. When you select this, it's going to tell you exactly what your opening amount from safe was. So what you would want to do is you can go ahead and select reconcile and close. If you just select close shift, what's going to happen is it's going to close it without reconciling. But this will give you the option. It's going to give you your cash calculator on your left-hand side, so you can actually count out your bills. If you just add in, five $20 bills, it's going to say it's $100 and such. And then it'll also carry over to this amount over here. So let's just say we're counting the drawer down, and we got 6 $20 bills, 3 pennies. And then you'll notice on the, this is the expected amount that should be cashed, that should be counted from the drawer, including that 210 that was originally there. This is the accounted amount that's coming from what you place in your cash calculator, and then it'll tell you whether you're over or short. So say, I had an extra $100 bill in there somehow or something. It'll tell you whether you're over or short. Say, I'm missing a certain amount here. Add that 0 back in there. It's going to tell you with the red highlight whether you're short, meaning that there's a problem here with your amount. It's not going to prevent them from, saving it or anything, but it'll at least give them a heads up that, hey, you're about to make you're about to close this cash store shift within a shortage of this amount. Once you're done with that, you can just hit save. Basically, this will balance the shift and close it. This cannot be undone. Are you sure all totals are correct? Like I said, it will prevent them from, trying to, save something incorrectly. But if they continue forward by pressing yes, it's just going to say the drawer is reconciled successfully. It'll give you this cash drawer shift report. Basically, it just tells you, what was going on here. It'll tell you the employees based on, who opened, who closed the cash device and such. It'll show your name here. Um, you can see, who the cashier was for the day. Um, Cash currency report just based on what type of payment types were, used in the point of sale. Everything as such. Has not put anything in the safe yet because we haven't transferred over anything, but this just gives you an idea of what was closed for this cash drawer shift. So once you're done with that, you can just exit out of there. You'll notice now that you have no open shifts at this point, no unreconciled shifts. So you can just exit out of that. And then you'll notice that you have the option to start a new cash drawer shift if you needed to. At this point, my recommendation is, if you guys are good for business today, go ahead and transfer your cash that you guys did have. And that's already been transferred because of the unreconciled. So you'll just want to create a deposit. So you'll see that this is in the amount of cash extra that you have from the $210 amount that you started with. And just say this is the amount of cash that we're planning to take to the bank. We're not going to leave that in our safe. You can put in a deposit number if you want. And you just say make deposit. And what will happen is that will balance out your safe amount. And it'll tell you right here your deposit of what's being taken to the bank. And then say you pull out cash from your drawer because you don't want that much cash in your drawer, you can do the cash transfer like I was about to do. But since once we reconcile the cash drawer shift, it automatically transfers it to the safe. Basically, that will sit there under deposits, or create deposit waiting for you to move that money to the bank at some point. And we need some type of record saying that you're taking this much money to the bank. Any questions with that portion?
Just the printing off part, like to print off to get the paperwork at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Does it ask you that as you're doing it?
Yeah. So they'll automatically bring up those reports and such. But when you go to close business day, which we'll do now, when you go to close business day, it's just going to say, okay, this is what we had. Let's pick our closing weather. Just say, it's sunny now. Still, sure you want to close the current business day. You can just say yes. Let's say this person's still clocked in. Would you like to just say yes? So you can always clock them out, and you can go back in and edit those if you missed clock somebody out. But most of the time, if you're still there, you're still considered clocked in. So it'll give you your store sales report that you can still find under management reports as well. It'll tell you exactly what was performed for today and such. You'll see that, I had a full service and an air filtered service. Tell me my discounts, how much money was actually netted and such. And then once you're done with that, you can select print. And then if you hit X there, it just say close business day process started, building data to send to Carfax, about Carfax ID. It'll say close business day process complete. You can just say go back. And it's just going to back up database. So if you need that cash drawer shift report, you can always go back into management reports to get it. It's always going to pop up when you close the cash drawer shift, so you can print it out there. Same with the deposit report. And anything that you do for cash transfer as well, so that it'll tell you that it's completed. It backs it up every night and such, and then it's going to tell you application updates are available. You can say yes to those, or if you don't want to apply them right now, you can say no as well. And you'll just notice it'll restart the system if you do apply those updates. But that's pretty much it. You'll see that it shows stats from the login screen of what you guys have done for the day so far, and it'll break it down based on the actual type. And then this will clear out at the end of the day. It goes by a time stamp. So at midnight, once it moves to the next date, it's going to show basically 0 until you start doing sales again. And it'll only do services or show services that are above $15. But that's pretty much it. So you're now pretty much closed for the day. If you do need to get those, so go ahead and log back in real quick. And then let's just go under cash drawer management real quick. You'll notice that it's ready to open business day again, but at the top, bottom right hand corner, go ahead and go to management report. So say, you missed one of those reports, or, you just want to have an extra copy of it. You can go ahead and select those copies there. So say you missed your deposit report, go ahead and just select deposit report since we're still on the same day, and you'll see what the amount was and, where it is, and you just select it and then say view report. Yep. And then you'll show you exactly where
Okay.
the report. Yep. And it'll show you the employee that made the deposit and everything like that.
That's cool.
And then you can just exit out of that. If you ever need to do a different report, say, I'd got my deposit, I need another one, I can just say choose another report. And then that will give them
Cancel
the option.
this or
Yep.
choose another report.
Yeah, it'll just give you another option to select a different type of report. This will be your business sales report, kind of like what was displayed. That's what's given to you at the close of business day. Your cash store shift report will always be given to you when you close the cash store shift, but if you ever need to go back and get one, you can grab one. It will go based on that business date for that day. So if you had one cash store shift, for 6/5, it'll show that's that one. If you had two or three, it'll show which ones it was, who was open by, and what timestamps they have, and everything like that.
All right.
Um, but that's pretty much it
That's pretty simple.
regarding the reporting and how the flow is of opening and closing. When it comes to create, deposit, and cash transfer is only moving money from the drawer to the safe, pretty much in the essence of how pretty much your business is going to probably be running. Create deposits actually what's been moved from the drawer to the safe and waiting to go to the bank, and that's where you'll have to deposit that money in order for the reports to make sense,
All
to
right.
make sure you have the flow of money going to the bank at some point. um, for deposits for credit cards are pretty self-explanatory. There's not going to be much involved in getting those. you know you're going to deposit those regardless. They're always going in, but you still need to make that deposit within the system so that we see some type of flow there. um, and as you guys get along, going along with that, if you have questions when you make that deposit, or, when you close out for a business day, you always are more than welcome to call us so we can help with that. But just want to make sure that we're
All right.
clear on the cash transfer, the difference between cash transfer and create deposit. Um,
All right.
so that takes care of that. You do have I'm going to go into some of these other tabs real quick while I still have you on the phone, Vernon. You have your inventory and you have your accounts receivable. Your accounts receivable, I've already got all your fleets in there, as you can see. Um, it's pretty easy to add an account. You just fill out the information and such here. Existing accounts that you already have, you'll notice if you just select them on the left-hand side with the little white bar, it'll bring up the account information, the account requirements, eligible discounts, tax type exemptions, and such. Um, you can just select it from here, and then you can just select which options say you need requirements for them. You can select those and hit save there. If you need to add a different type, say they need a certain company number or something like that, and we don't have that requirement, you just add that requirement in there. You have your account contacts that just kind of gives them exactly who to call, you know who you're supposed to be billing to and such. But those are already existing in there. If you need to add, the requirements, or, special pricing, discounts, tax type exemptions and such, you can go in there and do that at any point. You can generate statements and such, your account receivable reports. This option won't work for you right now to receive payments on accounts. We're working on getting towards that, but basically for right now, that's how it will function with fleets and your account receivables. Um, with inventory, we're just going to go into that real quick while we're still together on this. You have setup vendors. This is like if you have non-stock parts, or you receive from somebody, and you need to reach out to them. You have your inventory reports. This will give you an inventory report, meaning this is what is actually in your inventory. Your starting quantities, your ending quantities, ending on hand. Based on what your unit list price is compared to what your cost is. Um, give you kind of like a heads up on what sales would be. It also will tell you what you sold for the month, at this point, and then say, okay, this is what our net sales is regarding that, that certain item. And it'll just create a whole list for this here. And you can do it by date range as well. So it's no more like end of month reports or anything like that. It's just going to go based on which date range you select. Inventory count, basically you just have to select, say I want to see what, my parts are and what type of part, say I want to see just air filters. I can go into inventory count for just air filters and it'll tell you, it'll give me a physical count of what I need to put here in order to get onto my inventory report correct. And it'll say here I sold one for that 5431 and, that's probably incorrect based on that. So it gives you that physical count sheet. Um,
Now, does it tell you month to date how much you sold also?
Yeah, so like I said, you can
Will that be
select.
like,
Yeah, so when you're in the inventory report, you'd be able to select your start date and then your end date for a month. So you'll see here, like say,
oh, all right, I see there.
yep, I can select whatever date range. Say I just
It's
want to
just
see,
blank because we don't have nothing on there.
yeah, so there's nothing really been sold other than one part really. So let's see here. Let's see if we can find it in here. And then you have managed purchase orders. This is where you'll add like a quantity. So like this is where, this is where I'm going to put in like my amounts. Like if I receive something or, this is my totals. So like, say I received, this many quarts of, this type of lubricant, I'd put it in here. Oh, and it's a huge quantity. Basically, it's just going to say that, it'll ask you what type of units. We have it set to quarts. And you can just say, this is my PO number is, 12345. I can select which vendor it comes from, which store it's going to, the creation date and such, and then I can just say save. Saying I'm missing something. Let's see here. What am I missing? I think I'm missing a vendor, and that's why it's not allowing me to select it. But that's the premise of it. You'll just add, what you're receiving based on what it is. Just make sure you have a vendor set up for it. Adjustment and transfers, this is, basically saying, okay, this is what I claim to have, but this is what I really have. And that would come after, you do your physical counts and such. Um, you'll see here that you have your different types of actions that you can do for your, transfers and adjustments. So say, I did a purchase of this, it'll show all my different types of purchase. Say I have a new adjustment to make, I can go in here. It's not going to ask me for, really a vendor here other than just selecting the vendor that it came from originally, but I can add the new quantity. It'll tell you what your original quantity on hand is once you put all those in and then say, I counted, I really had this much, I just go in and add the actual total and hit save. And then it'll basically bring it to that amount. It doesn't add it on top or anything. It just takes it to the new amount. And I'll just create like a test one just to kind of give you a heads up on what it'll look like so that when you guys go to add quantities and such, you'll have a better idea. And I'll just leave that like that. I don't really need a name for that, but say I was going to make a new purchase order. I'm going to use test real quick and just say create a manual one. You'll see I have test set as a vendor, and I'm going to put in this euro for 135, and I'll just say save, and you'll notice that it gives me that exact PO, what was brought in and everything like that. I can view the report. It'll tell me exactly what I brought in and everything like that. Or I ordered this, and then once you receive it, you can say receive it by selecting here. Close and receive all items. You're sure you want to close this purchase and add all items to inventory. You can say yes. And then we'll go to inventory reports real quick. I believe that was a 5W30 euro. Let's see. Should tell me where it's at. You'll notice down here that it shows what my quantity is now.
All right.
So I received this. This is what my ending quantity is. Say I sell 5 quarts out of it today. Do you know what I mean? It would remove it and it would say my ending quantity is 130, and then it'll show under that 0 right here it's 5 quarts. It doesn't have a price for it necessarily, so it's not going to probably show much there. But like I said, it'll give you a heads up of what you brought in and everything. But that's how you would, enter in a shipment or create a purchase order. Then once you do receive that purchase order, you go back in and you close it and receive it. And basically that will put in the new quantity number into your system of what you received. And then
Okay.
that's pretty much it regarding the whole system itself. It's pretty self-explanatory when it comes to, once you start, bringing up certain options in there. If you do have questions for them, feel free to reach out as your guys going along. When you guys are ready to go live with it, I will drop in a new database. If you do make changes, we'll need to know what those changes are so I can add them to the blank database so that you guys aren't adding over. So if you start wanting to add quantities and such, let me know before you start adding so I can, kind of clear out what we did today because we just don't want to have that, you know, that fake data in there to, kind of mess with numbers that you guys,
Yeah,
don't want existing when you first start off. But this will kind of give you a little
yeah,
playground
definitely.
to play in the meantime, or pretty much like a little sandbox environment that you can use to kind of get more acquainted with the system and get along with it. But if you do have questions, feel free to reach out, and